there, I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are
hard to master.
Such as
Deal with the Devil from Czech Games Edition, or CGE. I did do a real review on my Instagram if you're just looking for something about 90 seconds long with an overview and general idea of what I think about the game. But we're going to actually take a hard to master look and give you a full in-depth review of Deal with the Devil.
So Deal with the Devil is a 4-player game. It has to be specifically 4 players, not 3, not 2, not 5, specifically 4 players. And it is a social deduction and negotiation kind of game.
It's a little bit more. So that's understood. Everybody believes that this game is heavy in the social deduction. I will say it's there, but at its heart, this is a punishing Euro game.
It really is.
It's a tight Euro game. So if you like the feel of like Agricola, where you can't feed people at times, or you're wondering, how am I going to make this happen? I need to get these resources. I'm not getting a whole bunch of them, which I love in games. This might be for you.
Yeah, this could be
even if you don't like apps or social deduction.
Yeah,
it is in the game. It does play a part in the game, but the majority of the game is going to be a Euro game.
Yeah. So thematically, what is taking place here in this game, and we'll take an overhead look so you can see some of the components here. You are going to be representing a kingdom, and this is going to take place in the Dark Ages, the medieval times, if you will. And you and your kingdom, you are going to have an affiliation. You're either going to be a mortal, a cultist, or you're the devil. And with that identity, it's going to affect how you play the game. It may even affect how you score throughout the course of the game and determine who wins the game ultimately. But with this game, each player is going to have a chest, and in that chest are going to be secret things that you are going to be packing in there and trying to make deals with the other players. And this game, as Jeremy mentioned, it does have an app, and the app is necessary. You do have to play with the app. There's not a way to play without the app. So if that's something that is already a deal breaker for you, apologies, but that's the way this game is. You will not be able to play the game without the app. But you use the app to randomly mix up these chests and pass them out to the players. The app will tell you which chests to pass to which player. And that way you're not exactly sure whose chest you're getting, because one person out there is going to be the devil, and they are going to be giving you lots of things, but they're going to want a piece of your soul. And soul is extremely important in this game. It is a very vital resource. Obviously, it's your soul, because you need to be able to pass the Inquisition. There are going to be several points throughout the course of the game when you are going to have to deal with these Inquisitors, which we'll come back to in just a minute. But you need to be able to prove that you are a mortal, or that you at least have some soul. And the devil's going to want to get your soul so that he can be able to pass through those Inquisitions. And that's the idea with this game. You need resources, but the people who have the resources, they're going to want a big price to pay for you to get any of those resources. And ultimately, with those resources, you're going to be building buildings. You're going to be making these cards over here for victory points that will hopefully, the cards will give you other things too to allow you to sort of build an engine to get bigger and better turns as the game progresses. And on that note, this game is going to last about 5 turns. Well, no, exactly 5 turns.
5 rounds.
It's going to be about 2 hours, maybe a little longer for your first game, 2.5 hours probably. But that's the idea that you have here with this game. The main mechanic being this secret negotiation and deal making being the main mechanic with the game. So, Jeremy, let's talk about just the general idea of how a turn works. I know each turn is going to be different because what number of turn you're on. The first turn is going to look different than the third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. But the basic ideas of what we're doing on a turn.
Yeah, so in the game, there's this nice little dial that rotates on the board, and that will dictate what phases are in each round. And as you see, as we turn it and we go to different rounds, there are new icons that will show up in this little rectangle, and that adds a couple phases that we're going to talk about in kind of how a turn or round is going to be made up. In the beginning of the round, you're going to be producing what is shown here. As you complete buildings and you get different symbols, that will unlock different minor achievements or major achievements later on in the game. And the minor ones will allow you to upgrade and gain more resources during that production phase. After the production phase, you're going to be dealt some an event card, and those will not draft. You're just going to have those, and you could have one from a previous round if you did not play it and were not able to fulfill it and just chose to save it. You would have to choose between that one and your current one. In addition to that, then you also have some different building cards. These building cards are going to be passed out, and then you will draft. In the beginning of the game, you will have a number of them, and those will be set for you. You will not draft, but later it will tell you which direction to draft, and you will draft these cards either to the left or to the right, saving 2 and then passing. Between each round, you can only save 1 building, so it's very important to realize which one you want to keep and which one you want to give up. And sometimes you give away one that later you get the resources from a deal that would have worked, but oh well, you should have kept it and you decide to keep this one, and that may go to the trash later.
Right.
But you will get 2 more, and then you're going to draft 2 from another player. So you'll get 4 every round to have a choice of which buildings you're going to want to complete.
And realistically, you are not going to be building 4 buildings on your turn. I don't even think that's possible. I think
you can only build 2 per round, because in a minute we're going to show you the different action slots on your kind of castle here, which is kind of your player area, and then that will show you, so once we get to that phase of the game. But after your cards, after picking, having your event and then picking and drafting those building cards, you're going to go into the deal phase, and that's where these chests are going to matter, because you're going to put certain things in there. So you can't offer a soul to anybody. You can only make a deal to pass that soul to either the cultist or the devil, or if the theme is a little too heavy for you, I like to say the evil merchant and the confused citizen for the cultist. if you're just wanting to lighten the theme a little bit, but only those people can say they want souls and you give them. Other than that, you are putting resources in, trying to pass those around, and on the other side there will be an icon that shows how much money you would like for those resources. If you are immortal, if you're a cultist, then it'll have those things. So this is what I'm talking about. You would move this was it hex? Yeah, hexagonal figure to show how many coins you want for those resources. The devil character can choose if they want 1 soul or 2 souls, and that is represented by a triangle one. And as you can see, the cultist one, it has a hexagonal, but they can choose either if they want 1 soul or if
money.
they would like money for the resources. But the devil or evil merchant can only ask for 1 soul or 2. And as you play this game, making the deals will make more sense. It does have a recommendation in the rulebook that you only, if you're offering up a soul to get resources, at a minimum, the deal is that you would take a minor resource and a major resource, which means your minor resources are like wood, wheat, stone, whereas your major resources are the glass and the marble. So you would want at least one of those as a minimum. But as you see throughout the game, sometimes you get offered up some pretty good things, like maybe 2 major resources and a minor.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good deal for 1 soul. I mean, let's be real. You can still survive without souls. You just have to have money and things to appease these inquisitors so they look the other way. But that is going to be the deal phase. You're going to be looking at someone's, well, placing your deal in there for someone to hopefully take. They will shuffle them up. The app will disperse them. Then once you get your new chest from somebody else and you see their deal, you have to decide if you want to take it or not. If you take that deal, the next person that gets this, because the chests are going to pass around twice in case you didn't take the deal could go to somebody else. But if you did, they can't do anything. They just have to pass that back. So
And the app does shuffle it up again in between those two deals. So again, even on the second deal, you don't know whose chest you're getting.
And you won't know exactly who, meaning like I wouldn't know if it's Lance's. I may know which character I'm getting a chest from because in the book it does tell you kind of how they're dispersed and when a certain character might receive that chest.
Yeah.
After that, you're going to get into the actions phase, which is where your castle board's going to come into play.
So let's move this over.
And you would put this up so that you could hide it from other people. But for now, we're just going to reveal it like we were revealing our actions to you. And there are some slots here. So if I take my event card and I'm actually going to use it, I would place it on either this side or this side. And when I do that, if I'm doing the more evil side, I have to put it on the left side. It will be the first thing that happens in my action. Whereas if I'm placing it on the more holy side, I would place it on the far right, which means it is the exact last thing that I would do. And so, and a lot of times you're either losing your reputation on this holy track over here to gain a resource,
right?
Or you're going to be paying resources to like help build the church and things like that, which gives you more favor on that reputation track and moves you up to the angel wing side. So I'd place that there. Let's say I had these buildings. I have these 4 discs over here. And the first 2 that I place are going to be free. And we're not talking about any buildings that may change that effect. Generally, you can place 2 for free. After that, you would have to spend a wheat. And you can always do things like take a loan, which would be, well, we'll go into more about that in a minute. But I could take a loan, get the resources I need at any time to do that. Now, one thing is you can only pay loans 3 different times in the game. So taking and paying loans is very important in this game. It's another thing that I really enjoy about it, and making that work to your benefit and hoping that you don't, push your luck a little too far with it if you're going a little too heavy in it. And there's no luck involved with it. It's just you're pushing based on what you're doing, and
it's a gamble.
The only luck that you might get is if you get that deal that you wanted to get the coins to help pay that down. But that's not really luck. It's more of I made a good deal and somebody took it.
Yeah.
So we'll say I had these 3 building cards and I want to build 2 of them because I have a lot of wood, or we'll say it's early on. I can only build 1. So I may put this card here, activating to build this building. Now, this 1 and 2 with the axe means that I already have a pre-built building out here, and that's what these 2 spaces are here, building 1, building 2. If I had already built this in another round and it had a symbol that would go with that, like this one with the axes on it, I could build this, place it here. If it's round 2, well, now I could have spent a disc there, which is going to give me the opportunity to spend a coin to gain a marble. I can do that every round as long as I spin that disc. Now I've spent one here on the castle region. I'll move this back up. I put one on the castle. That lets me build this new building. It's not a building that has that axe symbol, so it's just going to go in front of me. And this one, for instance, says whenever I build a blue flower type building, which are those icons I was talking about, because if you get 3 of a set, you place that minor achievement, now your production gets increased. So that's really good. So whenever I build that type of building, I'm going to gain a coin. So that's an ongoing thing throughout my action phase. So if you look at the top right corner, you're going to see what type of benefit and when that's going to give you that benefit. This is during an action phase. When I build that building or type of building, I will gain a coin every time throughout the game. This top left is where we're talking about the symbols. So this is not a flowered blue. This is a gray towered building. So there are 3 sets. There's a gray tower, there's a blue flower, and then there's the purple wings. And that's just kind of names that we made up. But those are the building types. You would also get an achievement if you can build 1 of each type. Those are your minor achievements. They help increase your production. If I put it on this grayed out X and it was a building like the one we already have built, and I immediately build this and I were to put it there, then I could activate that building because I've placed that disc there.
Right.
And you could build 2 buildings. I could build another building here. Another thing is you have this courtier, and this courtier, he is going to help with those sets for those buildings to create those achievements. I could spend 2 coins the first time and take this gray towered one, and then later I could spend it. And when I spend it, I'm trying to get a certain number, like 3 of them would give me that minor achievement, so I could spend it. When I spend it, it comes down here to this 3 coin area. So future turns, if I want to use it to maybe get, you know, 5 of a kind, which is the major one, which are points unless you're the evil merchant or devil. They don't get points for those major achievements. They will activate minor achievements, but not major achievements. So they might get 1, but if they're getting more than 1 to throw you off, it's a waste of really time,
and
because
real quick,
they don't get those points.
The reason for that is because the devil player or evil merchant starts with a whole lot more resources in their secret chest than the other players do, and so they're able to have a jump start on building buildings at the beginning of the game.
If they want. Or they could use it to try to get the soul.
If they're smart, they won't do that, because that's a clear giveaway that player over there who's built already 4 buildings,
I will say,
is probably the devil.
You can be outed as the devil the second round and still win.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So the devil does, having those resources, does have a little bit of a head start, and they can kind of have a little more leeway to do what they want, but they do have ways to lose points as well, which we'll talk about in just a second. So those are kind of your actions. Like I said, the courtier you're going to use for those sets to get those achievements. They cost wheat 2 if you've placed 3 discs. So then after you do all those, you would check those achievements and place them on the board. That is phase 4. Phase 5 is going to be the interest, and as you see, let's say we took a loan here throughout the game and we're at 5 coins. That means we're going to move this little interest marker 5 spaces around.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So we've moved it and it's crossed this starting point, and once it does that, that's going to increase your debt by 1 every time that crosses. So if we were to cross it twice, we've got to move that up twice. So,
and this cube stays where you end your movement for the next round. So you're already at a disadvantage having gone 5, as you're going to go up again after 3 more.
And it is okay to take loans. A lot of people might be afraid to take loans. Utilize this loan and interest trap, because it's going to help you get the things you need to create the buildings you need to replenish that and pay it back. You only lose the points for that at the end of the game, so utilizing that and paying it down, so if you're good at math and you can pay it down, so you know, well, I can move it down 2 coins, that helps keep it lower, and it's not going to cross that threshold, which doesn't bump me up, which makes it kind of a waste if I did. So you kind of want to balance that out. Now, if you get to the end, it's going to move back to 9, and you're going to gain these devil wings. We haven't talked about what these do. When you place them on the board, they're going to go on this side. If you ever get 3, that's going to create this house guest, and this house guest will come to you, and it works just like one of the Inquisitors. You're going to lose 4 points if you cannot satisfy them by showing them a soul or using an indulgence. Indulgences are what you get when you have 3 angel wings. And you can get angel wings by being the most at the end of the round, reputation at the end of the round. If you have the least at the end of the round, you're gaining devil wings. That goes for ties too. So if you're tied for bottom, you're getting them too. So that's a tough time, even when you think you're going to get 2 or 3 and you think that's going to satisfy and make you get those. A lot of times someone else jumped up 4, they got that, and guess what? You 3 are tied, even though you're high up on the track. And that track's going to reset a little bit and push you back down or push you back up, as long as you're not like in that middle zone. It's really going to try and even that back out for the next round. That's how interest works, and the reputation track. We already jumped right into that. That's phase 6, is checking that reputation to see who's the highest and the lowest. Then special rounds here, you're going to have a witch hunt in the 2nd and 3rd round. And when you do that, by now you hopefully have a sense of who might have traded their souls. Even if they're not the devil or the merchant, or the cultist, you might think that they don't have souls. So if I think green doesn't have 3 souls, I'd put this in my hand, and then we do this kind of show and tell here. See who's got. If there are 2 of matching color, you have had a witch hunt, which means this goes in front of you. This is -2 points at the end of the game.
If that player can't show 3 soul. Because if they do have 3 soul, then nothing happens.
Yeah.
The vote was a false vote, for instance. But if they don't have 3 soul, or they don't they don't want to reveal if they have 3 soul or not, then you got to take the mob.
You're getting the angry mob. Now, if you do get the angry mob, you cannot be a part of the witch hunt in the next round. So it only happens in the second and third round. If 2 players have both gotten this token in the second round, there will not be a witch hunt in the third round because 2 players already have been chosen as the mob is on them. So, and those are 2 points at the end if you have that. So then the other phase that's going to come into play, and that's going to be in the third and fifth round, is the Inquisition. This is where you're going to see if the devil, you're going to guess who the devil is using these tokens in your chest if you have them. Now the cultists will not have a cultist token, they will only have a devil token, and the mortals will have 1 of each. And then they will choose, and when they choose, they're going to pick the player, and you can only vote once. So you want to either know or wait and do it later, because if you're wrong, you don't get another vote. So hopefully the other people can tell. But I would put that in there. I would slide that in my chest. The devil character is going to put how many souls they have in that chest. And they're going to compare that to this chart. And at a minimum, they would get a glass and a marble placed in their chest to come back to them for just being the devil. And then if you have more souls, you get more things. So you might get a stone in a wood. You might get 2 coins in addition to those benefits. But if you have 2 souls or more, you're flipping over these Inquisitors, which means everybody at the table is going to have to show a soul or an indulgence for each one that is face up. And the more that the devil character can get in early or at the end in the 5th round means more that you're going to have to appease, including a house guest if you have collected a house guest. Now, if you guess the devil or cultist character correctly, well, then they're going to move their reputation marker down, which is going to cause them to probably get more devil wings. And then, like I said, more Inquisitors will come out. Everyone that you guess right, you will actually get 2 coins as a mortal or cultist. So if you guess both of them correctly, you're going to get 4 coins in your chest. Now, it's tough to do in the third round most of the time, but if you've got it pinned down and y'all are in agreement, because you need 2 to successfully out them, and they would have to tell you if they are or not, then that's kind of how that Inquisition works.
And also, the cultists in this same phase, what they're trying to do is they're trying to have gotten their cultist souls, because their soul tokens look a little bit different on the back, and they count as negative points if they hold on to them till the end of the game. So they're trying to get rid of their cultist souls to the devil,
clean ones,
because that gives them points at this point in the game for getting rid of those cultist souls. But then they also need to get clean souls from the mortal players at the table too.
And the last thing we didn't talk about with the Inquisitors is if you have money, and you can take loans to place money, and don't trust Lance whenever he does this, but you can put the coins that you have in there to try to bribe these Inquisitors, and it's got common pools. So for every 5 that the players place in their chest during this phase, that's going to appease 1 Inquisitor, and the remaining amount will stay on the board for the next phase. If 2, say 1 had 5, we took care of that, and there were 3 coins left over from the pool, those will be there. That means the next round, the next Inquisitor only needs 2 coins to appease them.
And what these Inquisitors are doing, they're needing you They're punishing you, right. If you can't appease them by showing a part of your soul or an indulgence, then they're requiring you to pay them resources or destroy buildings or lose victory points, because they're mad at you. They think that you're dirty because you don't have enough soul to show them, which is very thematic when you think about the historical aspect of this game. And that's devastating. It can be really hard if you don't have what you need to appease these Inquisitors. So you really want to either bribe them or have what you need to get to appease them. You want to stay away from them as much as you can.
So I found that generally 5-ish points is about the max that I've seen so far that you're going to lose in points, because you can usually account for 1 or 2. And like this first one, he can be nasty because if you can't pay a wheat, a wood, and a stone, well, now you lost 6 points. So he's usually one that you want to take out early. Another one that I found is in my last game, and I thought it was just astonishing on its own front, whether I won or lost, which I did. But having all 8 achievements on the board was pretty, as a mortal, was pretty fantastic.
But this guy...
But then this guy gives you -1 for each one, so that's -8 points. So you can imagine who was getting paid off. This guy was getting paid off, which is good, because he would have really tore me up. But they're generally... you have a good chance to take care of a couple of them. And it's not the end of the world when you can't pay for them, because you're going to just lose a few points, and yes, that stinks, but you can usually try and account for it and hopefully make up for that.
And it is important to note that the devil player is also having to answer to these Inquisitors, but the key thing that they have that a lot of the mortal players don't have are those resources. So he or she is better apt to handle them and pay out the penalties than the mortal players are. So it's in the devil player's interest to get those Inquisitors on the board, because it's going to punish the other players a lot more than it's going to punish them. So that's kind of the idea here with the round structure and the way the game operates. Let's talk a little bit about our thoughts on this game. I'm going to start right off the bat because I know this is a question with the game, and it's a question that I had with it just as a personal part of the game, with it being called Deal with the Devil, and the devil playing a major aspect of this game. I know that that's not super comfortable with a lot of people out there, myself included. It was something I was a little leery about getting into this game, knowing that that was going to be an aspect of the game, and somebody physically plays as the devil character. Regardless of whatever kind of religious affiliation you might have or personal beliefs, that's just something that you're likely going to experience as you play this game with a multitude of people, that might be something that causes a little people to be like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm here to tell you that as having played this game several times now and experiencing all the aspects of it, and also reading through this rule book goes into the detail and the historical aspects of where this game's coming from, the designer of the game and the theme of it and what he was intending to do. This game
it's not the prettiest time. Let's be real.
Exactly.
I mean,
and
witch hunts and people. I mean, it was a pretty.
The church
dark
made
ages
some,
right there.
some really bad choices in this day and age, and so the game is based on that light. That the church was not doing some great things, and they were really making some decisions based off of greed and money, which plays a big factor in this game. And so when you take that into consideration of what this game is trying to do, for me that works, and I feel okay playing this game even if there is the devil character in the game.
Yeah, like you said, I've had people that they just shut it down because of that, and then I hear that they're playing Blood on the Clock Tower, okay? I played that just the other day, and I can tell you, it's no different. There's an imp or a demon character, there's a devil character here. Like I told you, rename it the Evil Merchant. That's all you feel like. I've played the devil. You have not. You've played the cultist. I have not. Look, for some reason the app has not given me that role yet. But I have played the devil character, and I just felt like a merchant. Like I have these goods, I'm trying to get a soul, and I'm gonna throw out a pretty good deal. It's just people might not take that deal because they want more. So who's the real greedy one, Or the confused citizen. I mean, you can rename the role.
Yeah.
Nowhere in it does it say devil. I mean, this is the closest thing that says devil.
It's on the name.
Well, I mean,
of the box.
if you say it, I mean that's just a title. But as you're playing, nothing really says.
Right.
I mean, devil wings. I mean, you could say evil merchant wings. I mean, you don't have to delve into it if you don't want to. I don't feel like the theme makes you evoke,
No,
those,
not in any-
those things.
not in the
Nowhere does it
slightest,
say
yeah.
Satan either.
Right.
It just says a devil, and
Yeah.
and the devil could be the angel and devil on your shoulder that you see
Yeah.
in cartoons. I
Yeah.
mean, do you turn off Tom and Jerry because that's happening? If
No.
so, then this might not be for you. But if you play games like Blood on the Clock Tower or things like that, you're going to have a similar demon role. Death may die. I mean, Cthulhu.
Yeah,
it's no
exactly.
different than playing a Cthulhu game.
So beyond that, beyond the theme of the game, talking about the gameplay of this and the mechanics and the game, how it feels and evolves throughout the night, and just the experience, the overall experience of this game. I will say my first experience with this game was not a good one. I felt like the game was unbalanced for the devil player, and it was hard to be able to overcome it as just a regular mortal, especially if you give your souls away early on in the game. Now I see Jeremy shaking his head over there. He feels differently.
You gave me 2 souls towards the middle of the game.
Okay, whatever. Having played it more now, and after that first gameplay experience, I gotta say, this game grows on you. And if you make a judgment based off of the first gameplay of it, you're likely to miss a whole lot of what this game has to offer, because each role feels incredibly different. Now, I haven't gotten to play the devil. I don't know what that is like, but I can imagine
Wealthy.
it's a nice feeling of being able to have all these resources.
It's like being the chairman in John Company.
Yeah.
I can like playing out a big
All right, I'm just going to pass this stuff out. But at the same time, there is some pressure there, because you are, every time a deal does not get made and you're not getting the souls, you got to feel that stress and that pressure coming, because the end of the game is rapidly approaching. These Inquisitors are approaching, and you got to get deals done. And you still feel that way even as any of the other players. It's just from a different angle. And that's what I really like about this game, is it provides a different experience based on your vantage point, based on who you are and where you're coming at from these deals. If you're somebody who is, I'm just needing to get that one last resource and I really don't want to take a loan and buy it on my own, I really hope somebody can give it to me, that's a really fun experience. If you're the devil person and you're like, man, should I throw in another resource? Should I ask for 2 souls, or should I only ask for 1? That's a fun little negotiation aspect of this game. And the fact that it's secret negotiation is super innovative in my opinion. I can't think of another game where I'm making deals, but I don't know who I'm making them with. That's really cool. So having played it several times now, I really do like this game. I was not keen on it at first. I had a bad first taste with it, but having played it several times now, I do like it. I like it a lot.
Something about these Inquisitors are just too hard. That's how I remember you saying something along
They
those
were
lines.
super punishing, especially if you could not make, if the only deal you could make took your most valuable resources away from you, which is your souls, which, thematically that makes sense. You can work yourself into some really bad spots in this game. Like Jeremy said, this is a punishing game. And if you're somebody out there who doesn't like punishing games, you like more forgiving games, then maybe this isn't for you. Because you can definitely work yourself into some bad spots. But if you overcome that your first game or two and stick with this one and learn it and understand how it works and understand who you're playing with and how to make good deals, you could really have a good time with this game. So, yeah, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I love a tight game. This one, like I said, it's heavy in the sense that there's not a whole lot of actions, but you have to make those 2 to 4 actions really work for you. And just making everything line up is really hard at times, and hoping that you get the deal or hoping that the right cards come out, and then putting that into planning and action. And a lot of times it's like, oh, where do I spend these resources? Do I sell them to get my interest down and my loans down? Or do I save them hoping that I get a building from this draft that's going to work with it? And just saying, oh, I'll put them on there, but okay, this one's finished. It's ready to go. And then I get another card and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. If I can make a deal, I might be able to make both these happen. And as you play this game more, you see which buildings are going to do what. Well, do I keep the one with 1 icon that has an action, or do I take the one that has 2 icons, which doubles up essentially And I'll tell you, getting those 8 achievements,
That's big
almost
time.
every building I had was double up. So I negated a bunch of the actions on the cards to get those so I could get the achievements to up my production and gain 8 points at the end just off that.
Yeah.
And the additional bonuses.
I don't think we mentioned it, but these buildings are worth victory points too.
They are
So
at the end
it's
of the
important
game.
to
So
build these.
Building is good. I had a ton of buildings. But the fact that it's very tight. Like it's not a game. And I love the frustration of how am I going to make all of this work? And which card do I play and save these resources? And I throw out a deal that, I may not even care. Sorry. I may not even care if the deal happens. I'm just going to throw it out there. And if it does, I'll get some coins. But if it doesn't, I'll just save it and use it for the Inquisitors. Or I'll save it and use it for a building I might get in the future. Or I could trade that for coins. So I like how everything works in this one. As if you've watched our top 10, this was a top 10 game for me of the year. I love that the way that they took a heavy euro and threw in a social deduction aspect with an app that does it for you. I think that was very innovative on their sense. One thing that's going to be hard for the majority of people is it's a 4-player only game. Yeah. For me, I usually have 4, 5, 6 sometimes, but usually it's 3 to 5, and the majority of the time it's 4. And so having 4 people that enjoy a heavier game and aren't going to be just super upset that they played a punishing game does fill a small niche. But those of you that like a game that is hard to do everything you want, it's a game that's meaty enough that you have to make really tough decisions with your limited actions and which choices you're going to make. And then to throw on top of that, trying to make a deal and get things to prepare in the long run. So if you like those type of games, I think this is an amazing game to get and play. We've played it multiple times now. I played it a couple more times than you. And I know I've not gotten to play the Cultist, but I have a feeling of how it would play, being that I've played Immortal and I've played the Devil and I've won as Immortal. So a lot of times it feels like, in the majority of the time, the Devil wins because they have that easy going start. And if they can just get a soul or two or be able to get an indulgence to appease him or pay those extra coins that they get to knock them off, well, then they can survive and they have a pretty good shot depending on their buildings. But once you win as a mortal, then it's like, okay, so there is a chance. I can say that there's a chance. It's not the easiest route. Things do kind of have to line up, and you do have to play well to win as a mortal if you're playing, evenly balanced, players. Then it's possible. So if you've played this a couple times, right, the Devil wins every time. It can be defeated. It just is going to take a really good gameplay to overcome that.
Now, one last thing I'll throw out there for this game as a con, and it really depends upon who you're playing with and how experienced gamer-wise they are. It can be easy to mistakenly give your identity away in this game, whether that be saying something. In fact, even in the rulebook on the very last page, there's this little guide right here of read this before you play the game, before you ask any questions, because the very question you ask could give your identity away based off of what you're asking. And there's other ways you can accidentally give your identity away by just leaving your chest open a little bit or not having your shield all the way around. That can happen in other games too, but it's more prone to happen in this game. There's a lot of intricacies with how everything works in this, and if you aren't on top of your game, you can accidentally give your identity away. That doesn't ruin the game by any means, but it can put a dampener on it, because now I know that Jacob over there is the Devil, and I already have him figured out. I've got a 50-50 on figuring out the other two characters. So that does play a factor, but...
And Jacob did play the Devil. He's not just the Devil in real life. I will say, when you're teaching, even if they've watched, another channel and how they do a how to play video, definitely, if you're teaching the game, there's an extra set of these. You need to show these to everybody at the table before you start. You need to say these 2 tokens do not go in the chest until we're at this phase, until we're doing the Inquisition.
Yeah.
These do not need to be shown. Even when your friend Jacob, who plays the devil, goes to the bathroom 3 times, cover your screen and hide these tokens because they do not need to see them. Another thing is you have these Joker tokens that you can slide in there to help keep it from shuffling, so to help try to not give that away, as you can hear them shake. Because if they have a lot of stuff in there, you may think it's the devil, whereas if they don't. So you want to put these in and you just throw them upside down so that they got their tongue out. Especially if you don't want to make a deal, which will make Lance really mad when you give him just a bunch of these Joker tokens sticking their tongue out.
You're not even trying.
Because you don't need, that's a quote. He quoted that. You do not need a deal. I've got everything I need. There's no deal. So you're
not even playing the game.
You're getting these, you're just getting these Joker tokens. So, but those are ways to try to not give yourself away. And I would strongly recommend holding up 2 of those. Doesn't matter if it's the black ones or the white ones, but hold these up and show them, because these are the 2 tokens that you cannot have them put in there or show anybody and give them away. If they do, you've given identities away because you know they're immortal, because no one else has those black
or white
tokens or white or the purple ones. So that's number 1. No matter how you teach it or how they watch a video, make sure you show them tokens and you correct that, because our first game somebody did show that, but they weren't as heavier of a game, so you kind of knew I knew kind of who they were, which kind of alleviates some of that hidden identity. Whereas all the games since then, I've addressed that, and it's never been an issue since, and everybody kind of knows how to play, and we don't have near as many mistakes, things like that come up.
So let's get to our final scores on this real quick before we wrap this video up. I'll go first, and I'll tell you, my score has risen each time that I've played this game. I think it's at a point though where no matter how many times I play it, I think it's solidly at this score now. I'm gonna give this game an 8.2. This is a game for me that feels completely different than any other game I've ever experienced. It's a new, fresh idea, super innovative, very thematic. It is a longer game, and it is a punishing game, so you do have to be prepared for that going into this. And you got to have people that are experienced playing those types of games. I don't think this is a game that you should break out with somebody who's new to board gaming.
This is not a love-to-hate game.
This is not a love-to-hate game by any means. This is a hard-to-master game in every sense of that. And so you really should only play it with that particular crowd. So with that being the case, and you need exactly 4 players, it's going to have limited replayability because it's just not going to hit the table every night. So you do have to be aware of that going into it. And that's the reason why it probably doesn't get a higher score than what it is. But as it is, 8.2 is still really high. So where do you come in, Jeremy?
I will say the time frame does speed up. You can play it in a little under 2 hours. We have knocked it down. Once you know how to play, and you're used to it, so that 2 hours is pretty strong. But you could end up in an hour 45. But first game may be 2.5 hours. So I am, like I said, it's on my top 10 list. It's number 10. I'm at an 8.6. Granted, you do have to have 4 players. So for me, it's an 8.6. If you don't like heavy games or you don't like games that are very tight, it's probably not going to be an 8.6 for you. But I love those heavier, tight games, where your decisions mean a whole lot, and that one thing like giving up 2 souls in the 3rd round could just do you in for the rest of the game, and
it will
have you to, have to twist your arm to play again. But the 8.6 for me, strictly because of those things. I mean, I love the innovation in it. I love that it's very tight the majority of the time. I love the way that the loans and interest happens. That's awesome. Just all together. And when I know that I could get this game out, and Lance and my other friends, they would all be on board. One of my friends, it's his favorite game. So knowing that I can break it out and get that experience again and again without having to convince somebody to play, that definitely helps the score go up. So for me, Deal with the Devil by Czech Games Edition is going to be an 8.6. If you haven't seen our top 10 list, you might want to go see what the rest of those are, because I'm sure their ratings are probably either there or pretty close. So
yeah. Well, there you have it. That's our thoughts on Deal with the Devil. As Jeremy said, it is from CGE. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about this game and if it's one that you'd like to check out. I'm Lance.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.